Hi, it's Carrie Kenner, and welcome to my weekly vlog. I want to talk this week about self-care and a new version of self-care that I've discovered for myself. So, I have been practicing meditation for 60 days straight now. And meditation is something that I've done in the past, but I had these mental constructs around how it should be done and it didn't work for me. So I used to think that I would have to sit frozen in lotus position and not move and keep my mind empty for a certain period of time to be doing it right. And what I found is that if my butt hurt, that's what I focused on. And I wanted to squirm, and I felt really constrained and confined in a way that didn't feel right, even though I was trying to do it right. And so I'd quit after a few days. And recently, I was noticing as the sun was coming up earlier in the morning and I was waking up to lightness instead of waking up to the dark, that my bedroom was really beautiful. There's paintings all over the walls that I have made, and there's lots of beautiful fabrics and objects that are really meaningful to me. And the sun would come in, and I'd look out the window, and there would be there's a lot of trees and bushes and things that are a natural buffer between my neighborhood and the neighborhood behind me. So it was just all this greenery out there, and it was really beautiful, and the way the light came in. And I have this lovely altar that I've created that was at the foot of my bed. And I was just realizing I don't spend any time in here except to get dressed in the morning and to get ready for bed at night. And then I sleep in between. And I was like, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense to create all this beautiful space and not spend any time there. So I was thinking, okay, what are some things that I could do to spend more time in my room? And it's like, well, if I'm having phone conversations, I can lay on my bed to do that, or I can do more reading. I have a really great chair in my living room, but why don't I read more in that room and just be surrounded by that beauty? And I could also dance every morning and get my energy going. And I love to dance and just kind of go crazy with different music. And my son is here, so sometimes I feel a little bit shy about doing that when he's here. So I could go in my room and do that, and I could meditate. So I decided that I was going to start meditating every morning, but I wanted to change the rules. So my version of meditating now consists of not sitting still. I do sit, but if I feel like moving, damn it, I move. And what I found is that when I move my body, when I pay attention to my body and notice the way that it wants to move and what it wants to do, because sometimes it's rocking and sometimes it's rotating, sometimes it's shaken energy out. I just notice like what's coming up and what's moving through me. And that's as informative of what thoughts and things are coming into my mind as well. So I'm not sitting still anymore. And instead of thinking that my mind has to do a certain thing, or that I'm supposed to control it or empty it, or any number of these things that I'd heard in the past, instead, I just, again, notice what are the kinds of things that are coming up. And some of those things I really believe are the universe and the spiritual world telling me things, that I'm channeling information. And so I'll pay attention to it, I'll follow where it goes. Sometimes, this is blasphemy, I'll even pull up my phone and look up this thing that has come into my mind to see, is that something I'm supposed to explore more? So I'll do that. So I'll really go down rabbit holes following my mind and where it wants to take me with these ideas, these words, these concepts, these images that come up. I also use visualizations that I create for myself that really help me go into different kind of mental states or different realms. And I do a lot of writing. So it might be journaling, it might be scribing, where I'm asking a question to some entity outside of myself, and then I write what their response is. I might be doing breath work or working with a certain mantra or doing some energy work or non focused awareness. So, all different things that allow me to notice what is coming into this space that I wouldn't otherwise be noticing because I'd be busy doing kind of my daily things. And what I've found is that all sorts of insights, ideas, creativity, um, kind of like confirmation from the universe comes to me about things that are happening in my personal life and my work life and my relationships. And I view this as an important part of my self care. And so I've been thinking about self care. Recently, I was talking about networking with business owners as a form of self care, that when we network, we don't rely on only ourselves to find clients or only ourselves to learn about the field that we work in or only ourselves to do X, Y, and Z. And so networking as a form of self care. And then I was thinking about so many times people think of self care as things that they have to do, and they're kind of a burden and they're boring or they're repetitive, and they just don't bring them joy. So I came up with my three rules of self-care. The first is that it has to be enjoyable. If you're not enjoying it every single time, don't do it. The thing is when you find something that you enjoy, you're going to want to do it, and it makes it easy. The second thing is self-care should feel like kindness. If you're not enjoying it and making yourself do it, it's not kind to yourself. And the third thing is that it must be compassionate, that you must have compassion for yourself so that it doesn't feel like a burden. If you're feeling judged, if you're feeling pushed in ways that don't feel healthy to do this thing, then it's not compassionate with who you are. Now, I'm somebody who likes to always have something new to do. So I made myself a list of other ways that I could do meditation, and I want to share some of them with you. So, one is to just sit in silence and have the silence be the thing that you meditate on. Now, the thing is when you pay attention to silence, you'll notice there isn't silence. There's all sorts of subtle sounds that we can hear that otherwise go unnoticed throughout our day. So, noticing the sounds of the refrigerator humming, or the cars going by, or the neighbors talking, all these things that remind you just kind of where you are in the world and what you're a part of can be a form of meditation. One of the things that you'll often hear when you're sitting in silence is birds. So, birds can be another form of meditation. Now, what's really cool about listening to the birds, if you don't already do this, is you'll start to notice, oh, wait, there's a whole bunch of different voices out there. There's many different kinds of birds, more than the two or three that you maybe see on a regular basis. Then, when you continue to listen to the birds, you notice the quality of their conversations. You'll start to notice the patterns, the call and response, the way that they talk to each other when they go silent. And then you can also start to notice, are the different kinds of birds talking to each other or just to themselves? There's a lot of crosstalk going on, but listening to birds and their conversations can be just such a beautiful way to slow down and notice the things we don't typically notice. Another one of my favorites is sitting in the sun on a sunny and warm day. So I sit in the sun, I turn my face to the sun, and I close my eyes. And first, I just notice the feeling of that warmth on my skin. And I think about, wow, if I'm feeling this warmth here and it's that far away, how bright, how hot is that sun? And then I notice, what does the sun look like through my closed eyelids? What are the colors? Are some shapes moving? Are colors moving when there's nothing there but my closed eyes and the sun? Or I might notice how the smell of my skin changes as it heats up, or how my body responds to the how warm I'm getting. And what are my ideas about getting too hot or being uncomfortable? So, a meditation of just sitting in the sun might be something to try. There's also dance or movement meditations, and never where you're trying to like do a dance, but one where you're just letting all the parts of your body move at different times, noticing, do they want to stretch? Do they want to be in close? Are they wanting to swirl and twirl, or be more kind of repetitive? What does each body part get to do and want to do? And what does that feel like to move your body in all these different ways, high and low and big and small? There could also be meditations around gratitude, just either noticing everything in your space and offering gratitude for it, or offering gratitude for everything that has happened in that day so far or in the day before. So just really focusing on all the things that you're grateful for and speaking them out loud. There can also be a meditation around eating a piece of ripe fruit and just really getting into that fruit. The textures, the taste, where did it come from? How did it start? What helped it to grow and ripen? What's going to happen when the rest of the fruit on that tree or vine don't get picked and they start to decompose? Then what happens? And how will new fruit arise from that next year? So, just really thinking about the whole life cycle of that fruit, what it tastes and feels like, what it's doing in your body, feeling how it changes your body once it starts to get digested. So, meditating with a piece of fruit can be a new thing to do. And then you could do a meditation around what you see, either staring at something like a candle flame and just noticing the movements, or staring at a tree when there's a light breeze out and noticing how the leaves change and flutter, or watching an insect or an animal, just noticing all of its movements, the way it's aware of its world. So, focusing on something that you're seeing with your eyes. And then many different forms of writing. So it could be writing everything that you're seeing, just free form writing, or every thought that comes in. It could be that scribing process that I mentioned earlier, where you're channeling some other entity. Some people start by asking it a question or just seeing what it has to say to you and writing that all down. So many different ways that one can do a meditation practice, but so many different ways that you could find self care for yourself. So I hope you have a self care practice that you love and that you can't wait to get to every day. And if you don't have one, create one. Just make sure it checks all three boxes. You thoroughly enjoy it, it's kindness that you're showing to yourself, and it's compassionate. Thanks for listening, and be well. Bye. Want to begin your own meditation practice but need some help getting started? Schedule a free call. There's a link in the description and comments, and we'll get you going.